Find 7 ordered pairs for the equation y equals x cubed plus 1 using the given values of x, and then we're going to determine its graph. So we have x cubed plus 1. Let's go ahead and put that in here. So here is our graph. Here is our equation. Here are our values of x. We're going to plug it in to find out what the ordered pairs are going to be. So here we're going to plug in -3. So we have y, which is equal to -3 to the third power plus 1. Okay? So keep in mind that when you multiply -3 3 times, right? So if you look at the calculator, this is -3 times -3 times -3. So we should get a negative because there's 3 negatives, and then 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So we get -27. So that's -27 plus 1, which is going to give us -26. So we have -3, -26. Okay, now we're going to plug in -2. So if we plug in -2 and then cube that and then add 1 to that, well, we know it's going to be negative because the negative times 2, -2 times -2 times -2 is going to be negative. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, so this is going to be -8 plus 1, and -8 plus 1 is going to give us -7, so we have -2, -7. Okay, next we're going to plug in the value of 1, or excuse me, -1. So we say -1 cubed plus 1. Well, that's -1 times -1, which is a positive 1, times a -1 is a -1. So -1 plus 1 is going to give us 0. So we get -1, 0. Okay, next we're going to plug in the value of 0. So 0 to the third power is 0. And 0 plus 1 is going to give us 1. So therefore the ordered pair is 0, 1. Next we're going to plug in the value of 1. So 1 cubed plus 1. Well, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Plus 1 is going to give us 2. So we get the ordered pair 1, 2. The next value that we're going to plug in is 2. And that's 2 to the third power plus 1. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. And so 8 plus 1 is going to give us 9. So the ordered pair is 2, 9. And the last one is the value of 3. So that's 3 to the third power plus 1. Well, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Plus 1 gives us 28. So therefore we get the ordered pair 3, 28. So let's put in our y values into the MyLab to make sure that we have the correct answer. Alright, so for the first one, we plugged in -3, we got -26, and that checks. Okay, then we plugged in -2, we got -7, so -7, there's our answer. We plugged in -1, and then we got 0, there's our result. If we plugged in 0, we got a +1, there's that answer. When we plugged in 1, we got the value of 2. When we plugged in 2, we got a value of 9. And we plugged in 3, we got a value of 28. Alright, so therefore there is our ordered pairs. Now we need to find out which graph it's going to look like. So let's go ahead and graph this. So the first ordered pair is -3 and then -26. So you can see here that the y value goes over the x values is -1, -2, and so forth. But the y values are increments of 5. So 0, 5, 10, -5, -10, -15, -20, -25, and so on. So we have first -3, -26. So here's -3, and then we're going to go all the way down to -26, which is approximately right there. Okay. Then we have -2, and then -7. So we're going to go over 2, negative to the left 2, and then down to 7. So that's -5, and then a little there, which is -7. Okay, the next value is -1 and then 0. So we have -1 and then 0. Okay, and then we have 0 and then 1. So we know that that 1 is going to be somewhere close to 0 since it's in increments of 5. And then we have 1 and then 2, so we have it just a little bit above that 1. And then we have 2 and then 9, so it's going to be right before the 10. Then we have 3 and then 28, so that should be somewhere close to 30 up here. And so now let's go ahead and then trace our values. So here is our graph. So let's decide which one that's going to look like. Well, we know that we're going to eliminate this one because it's in the opposite direction and D, so it's either going to be C or B. And now we need to look at C or B. Okay. Well, if we take a look at B, it's the where it crosses the x-axis is below, where it crosses the y-axis, excuse me, is below the x-axis. Okay. In this one, we can see that where it crosses the y-axis is above the x-axis. So let's go back and take a look at our graph. Well, we can see here that value 0 goes up 1. So it's going to have to be this one that's above the x-axis. So therefore, it's going to be C. Let's check our answer. And there is our result.